Happy Wednesday, friends. Spud here from the Sullivan Foundation. We have got another series of Navigating the Unknown with you today, so super excited to invite you into the conversation. As folks are joining us, feel free to comment down on the bottom. Let us know you're here. Ask some questions for us. We've got a couple really good friends joining us. One, Gabby Deculus from Business Rules for Women. I've been friends and following Gabby for many years now. She just ran her first virtual conference, and so we're going to be talking a lot about that and how that experience went for her. And then I believe Gabby was actually the one that also introduced me to Jarren with an organization called Legends Do Live, and one of their main programs is called Reading with a Rapper. And so we're going to talk about how that is impacting, or how that program has had to change and adapt given everything going on with COVID. So super fun conversation in store. Feel free to add questions as we go here down at the bottom or in the comment section, and we will do our best to pass them on to Gabby and Jarren for you. But as we're waiting on people to join the thread here, I want to give you a quick sneak peek of one of our favorite tools here at the Sullivan Foundation. We do this at the beginning of every call. One of my all-time favorite organizations here is called Road Trip Nation. And this is one of their books that they run called Roadmap. And they just released their second edition this week, or last week, I believe. And there are some really good themes in here that I think we're actually going to touch upon in this conversation with both Gabby and Jarren. One of them is talking about this idea of how do you know when you need to do a veer on your path versus a complete 180, a U-turn. And so we're going to be talking with both Jarren and Gabby about how do you navigate that on the personal level, right? So how do you know when you're fully in line with your purpose and your mission, and when roadblocks come along the way, sometimes you need to veer around them, and sometimes you need to do a complete 180, right? It's actually not in line with what you're trying to do. That can apply to both the personal side of things as well as the business side of things. And given some of the big pivots that both Jarren and Gabby have had to make in the last couple weeks, we're going to be talking about that. How do you know when you have to veer, and how do you know when you need to do a complete U-turn? So if you're interested in a good book while you are quarantined up at home, definitely go check out our friends over at Road Trip Nation. They have one of my favorite domains, I think. It's called theonlybookyounneed.com, which is quite a clever domain. So go to theonlybookyounneed.com. You will find more details about this. One of my favorite quotes, which I will leave us with before we join or have Gabby and Jarren join us, is they talk about what is a risk that I will regret not taking? And I know this is backwards for many of you. You have to flip it in your head. So what is a risk that I will regret not taking? That's been a question I've just been pondering a lot during this time. How to use my time in the best way as I'm navigating grief and anxiety and creativity during all of this uncertainty. And so thinking about what's a risk that I could take now, a safe risk that I would not regret later on. So we're going to be talking about that with both Jarren and Gabby. So Jarren and Gabby, I think I combined your guys' names there. So Gabby and Jarren, it's a Wednesday. It feels like a Monday, but you know, it's where things are at. So let me get Gabby on the call here with us in a second. There we go.
Hello.
And hey friend, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, Spud.
How are you? I feel like we haven't had a chance to actually catch up in, man, quite a few months, maybe a year.
Oh man, it has been a while, and it's so good to see you doing what you do, Spud. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to the Sullivan Foundation for just showing up for everyone right now.
I think that is what most people are trying to do right now. How do we show up? What does showing up look like? Obviously, we're all taking it day by day. So thank you for taking some time out of your lunch hour to join us here. I want to give you a chance to share a little bit with folks on the call, just who you are and what you do. But before we even get into that, I just want to check in. How are you doing personally? I know you had some health stuff pop up with all of this going on. So how are you holding up personally?
Well, I'm on, I guess, the end of my COVID-19 experience. I actually found out last Saturday that I tested positive. It took about 14 days for me to get that. And I just fought through it because it was in the midst of the conference and everything. But it was tough, y'all. This is not anything to play with. And you really kind of hit the nail on the head, balancing all these things, including grief. You know, even if you haven't lost someone close to you, you can't help but grieve for humanity right now. And personally living in New Orleans, it's been tough because I know a lot of people who have passed and who have lost people in their families. And so, number one, I'm grateful that I am okay. I'm grateful that to be feeling better right now and to be able to wake up and still do the things that I love to do. So thank you for including me on this. This is a part of my recovery process, and I love to share, as you know.
Absolutely. I know it's a lot to hold, and I'm going to be curious to hear your perspective on this of like, as an entrepreneur, sometimes people are looking to leaders of these organizations to respond in a bit of a creative way. And so how do you balance sometimes the need or desire or the want of that with also the personal dimension that we're all going through, which is experiencing exactly that grief and anxiety that you talked about. So, but for folks on the call who don't know who you are, give us a little overview. What has Gabby been up to in the last couple of years, and most importantly, probably in the last week or so with this new virtual conference you just ran?
Yeah, so I'm in marketing. Absolutely love everything about entrepreneurship, and then just the science of marketing and people, giving people what they need. Answering to the needs of the people is something that I pride myself on. I love to work with organizations and companies who understand the importance of that. And also, just really trying to get this message across that being a socially responsible business is not a trend, or being a socially responsible entrepreneur is not just a trend. It's definitely the new best way to do business. And that's really kind of stayed true for me. Business rules for women. At the end of last year, I told myself we've been doing a lot of things digitally, and we've even had some one-offs, happy hours, and ways for people to get together through workshops, even live sessions like this. But I felt like it was time, as we approached our 5th year, to have a convening, to have a conference where people can come together from all over the place. We have a global community. And we were working hard. I had recruited about 50 volunteers to be a part of producing the conference. And I'd say about a month ago, our lives changed. Everyone's life changed. And we started to get, and hear information about how the other world was shutting down. We were about to shut down, and what are we going to do? I had all these people who were excited to work from the inside, and then also people who had been buying tickets from the outside, people who wanted to come and experience what we were doing. And I spoke with one of the producers and said, hey, we have to make a decision because this is serious. And a lot of people did not take it serious initially, but I knew that this was an opportunity for us to pivot or to verge or merge into another lane, and rather fight it, embrace it, because this without a doubt is going to be a part of our new normal. And so we did that within a month's period of time. I was sick during that time, uncertain about what was really going on with me, but knew that it was likely, since I had lost my smell and taste, that I had contracted the virus. And so really, I just worked with my team, and they followed my vision. And, being a leader in entrepreneurship and an entrepreneur right now has a lot of anxiety around it, a lot of responsibility. But I'm grateful for the people who support me and my vision and trust that I was making a decision that was best for us as a company, but also for our community.
You had one of my favorite quotes that I saw on Instagram the other day. It's not business as usual, it's business as best we can.
Absolutely.
Which, man, for folks in the Sullivan community, when you feel it, you just kind of wave yourself a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Ooh. I was feeling it. I was at my computer just waving myself there. But I mean, that's a lot to balance. And I'm curious for you, what was the thing that finally tipped it over for you of making the decision, yes, we need to pivot? There was just kind of this mounting news cycle and the research and evidence coming out. I mean, bring us into the personal moment for you of how did you make that decision? Because I'm sure that was not an easy pivot to have to tell your team and change everything, especially while sick.
I'm gonna try to hold it together as much as I can. This is very emotional. I think we have to be honest with ourselves. This is a very emotional time for a lot of people. And I had to make an executive decision because people didn't think it was serious, you know, but I knew that because how I was feeling and what we were seeing in the news, and my dad being the news guru that he is, he was like, listen, you have to do this. You have to make a decision for your community and for yourself. And so I just, you know, I had a conversation with some of my team members before. They gave me resistance, but I made the executive decision because I believe I have the foresight and the technical skill and, you know, just purpose behind everything that I do, that this was what was best. And I wasn't even thinking about being in the forefront of the pivot of what other people were doing. I saw people canceling. And I'm like, don't these people know that there's like apps and technology out here? Like, you don't have to cancel, you know? But I quickly realized how far we are behind in utilizing technology in our day-to-day lives. So I'm happy that I made that pivot, but it was challenging. And I appreciate them for trusting me because, you know, it was excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I feel like in these moments of crisis, right, everybody looks towards leaders to help us figure out how do we navigate an unknown path ahead of us, and how much weight sits on a leader's shoulders. I mean, I can speak especially for some of the organizations I'm involved in, is like everybody's emotions are heightened, right? And so you're trying to make decisions as best you can, and you're not always going to get it right, and how much that takes a toll, because sometimes you're not allowed to show the personal, the emotional dimension of this, right? It's like, no, this actually hurts. And sometimes I just sit alone at home in my bedroom because I'm just overwhelmed, right? And I'm exhausted from this.
Yeah, it's a lot to process. And then in the midst of that, you know, one of the big words for me this year, you know, my mom tries to encourage us to pick a word every year. And last year, my word was empathy. And this year, my word is, again, empathy, because I feel like it doesn't come natural to people. And we have to shift our culture to being so individualistic and thinking that, you know, what's impacting someone else has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with you. And so, you know, I also thought about, in the pivot of the conference, I also thought about, you know, there were tons of people who couldn't make it anyway. You know, there's quite a few people out there who really want community so they can achieve their goals. You know, Business Rules for Women actually made 5 years this month. And that was the reason why we even founded this. It's because entrepreneurship can be lonely, and we need support and community and resources and collaborations and opportunities. And for me to cancel all of this hard work and be able to kind of commemorate what we've been doing over all this time would have been a loss. And so I'm very happy we did what we did. And, you know, I hope other people see this as their new norm, you know, and you embrace it. You know, one thing that I'm going to be doing is teaching people how to use Zoom, because I've become an expert, you know. I've become an expert at Zoom. I've become an expert at, you know, virtual events at this point. And I just want to see people be connected. And so that's one way that I plan on, you know, even after all of this and still going through my recovery process, because I don't know how long this stuff stays in your body. You know, I don't know next time I can see my grandparents or my parents or anything like that. So it's like, how can I still be a part of helping people stay connected and not having to, you know, be even more of a downer, a Debbie Downer on the fact that we can't connect in person right now.
Totally. Someone shared in the comments here, entrepreneurship can be quite lonely. I was actually emailing a friend of mine the other day, and she was sharing her word of the year, and she meant to say resilience, given everything going on, and it had an autocorrect, and it auto-corrected in the email to reliance, and it was just this really funny slip, because at first I thought, oh, resilience and reliance are total opposites, right? And then the more I started thinking about it, of like how important it is at this given time to rely on your team as an entrepreneur, to rely on your customer base, the community that you're serving, is like, I feel like I am fully leaning in, like trust fall, right, to the different people.
Yes.
And so I'm just curious, what does that look like for you in terms of the teams that you work with, the people? How have relationships changed in all of this, given the shifts that you've had to make?
I believe that the relationships that are meant to get stronger are getting stronger right now. And the relationships that are not going to be fruitful for where we're going is not being strengthened. And we have to be realistic about that. It goes back to that word empathy. And as far as my community goes, like on Friday, I'm definitely doing like a happy hour thing for them, still finding ways to connect them together. Um, but as far as clients, right? So outside of Business Rules for Women, I am a consultant.
Right.
I do help people, generate revenue, tell their story, change the world through St. Josephine. And right before this call, I was being contacted by someone who I'm sure is trying to wrap their mind around how they can best connect their nonprofit, which is focused on at Black-led schools in New Orleans, Black governed. We're all charter schools here. I'm sure they were calling to figure out like how do we connect these folks, and so partners like that, clients like that, I'm looking forward to growing with them and helping them evolve their business. And then folks who are, not necessarily being as responsive right now, I've pretty much determined like that's not the type of uh, company that I want to work with. I want to work with people who understand and see immediately and step into leadership and understand like we have things that we have to do and people are depending on us. And um, that's pretty much how things are working for me at this point. I'm making decisions based off of that. Plus I need to maintain my peace and rest. And so I'm being a little choosy about what we're nurturing at this point.
Yeah, I've heard a couple people share, right? A lot of businesses are going to be judged by how they respond during this moment.
Yep.
And on one hand, right, I totally agree. And I think this is a really important, step that the leaders need to take. And at the same time, so our early part of our conversation of like having empathy for how difficult of a decision this is for the leaders of all these different organizations to have to navigate together. And it's like, yeah, all of us are kind of wrestling with these similar unknowns.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I want to talk about the not so glamorous part of having to pivot. Whenever you pivot, um, there's people who make demands based off of what you initially said that you were providing. Okay. And that also can be quite frustrating because it's like, well, the president doesn't want us out with each other right now, guys. I understand that you bought an in-person ticket, but for you to demand me to give you a full refund rather than you being a part of the adjusted change, it's just interesting. So I have to look at it from not just, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have to look at it from your customer and your client's point of view as well. So, it goes back into that empathy piece. It's really challenging. I mean, everyone's situation is different. I did make partial refunds, and only one person I really gave her a full refund because I feel like she'd be more of a problem than not. And I'm just being transparent. Like that's just what comes with the territory. But yeah, just know that if you're a leader and you're watching this right now, you're an entrepreneur, do what's best for your team and your customer. Don't leave either one of those people out. This is the best time for you to show up for both of them. Like Spud said, people are going to judge you based off of how you are showing up right now. And it's not going to be all, roses and rainbows. There will be some uncomfortable moments, but these are the moments that help us grow and become better.
Totally. For those who are, yeah, right. I know half of the watchers probably have no idea what this means, but if you don't, it just means I'm feeling it, all right? For those who are just joining in, though, we've got Gabby here with us from Business Rules for Women. And if you've got questions for her, feel free to drop them in the comments or questions below. One that I am curious about is, right, you talked about you're a consultant. You help with marketing efforts, narrative, storytelling. So for you, what's the bigger story you hope emerges out of this, right? If you like zoom out of the immediacy of the crisis, and
Yeah.
think a year from now, one, have you even had a chance to think on that level yet, or are you still kind of down? And two, if you have had a chance to think about it, like what's the story that you hope emerges out of all of this?
You know, if you look at the history of our biggest moments in the US, and I say moments like the things that have impacted our businesses, our families, the cream rises to the top. And, you know, I just want people, what I want to see a year from now are even stronger leaders than we had before, people who are even more confident in what they bring into the world. I want to see us more interested in all of our life experiences, you know, be more connected. I want to see some social businesses or socially centered businesses become the Ubers of the world. I want to see, I want to see programs like Reading with a Rapper, which Jarren is about to come up, who's a good friend of mine. I want to see programs like that around this entire country because we understand the importance of programs and investing in people in our communities, you know. And I think that this is the prime opportunity to catalyze your vision if you are really for the betterment of people and all the things that haunt us, whichever way you show up in the world. That's what I want to see. I want to see those leaders really rise to the top. I want to see them be funded. You know, I want to see us, because I'm a part of this group, right? I want to see us get an overwhelming amount of support that we've never gotten before. It doesn't matter if you're a for-profit or a non-profit. I just want us to come out of this better than we went into it. And I believe everything happens for a reason.
Totally.
So although this is very challenging and it sucks, right? Because I've never experienced this type of illness before, or, that I have overcome, because I believe in speaking things into existence. But it's definitely something that we need to grab a hold of, but also be gracious with ourselves and others along the way.
Totally. Grace was one of the words that was floated around in one of the organizations I'm involved in up here in Pennsylvania. Of like, if there's anything we can ask for right now, is like, as a leader, I was just asking for grace. It's like, work
Please.
with me. I'm going to do the best that I can.
Work
right?
with me.
I'm with you there. So totally.
Yeah.
I find it like, I had a mentor a couple of years ago share, because you were talking about social businesses, right? And you want that to be the new norm. And they shared a story of like, historically, and I don't know all the details, but there used to be a time when we referred to everything as the electric X, right? So the electric toaster, the electric griddle, like when electricity was a new thing, everything was described as the electric X.
Right.
And now we just refer to it as the toaster or the griddle or whatever, the coffee machine, right? It's not the electric coffee machine, it's the coffee machine. And I wonder if this is an opportunity, right? Thinking about the story that we're going to tell down the road, where it's no longer this big divide between social business and normal business. It's like, business is social, right? Business has empathy, business has impact, it has purpose just embedded into it. And I've just been wondering that. And as you were sharing about the message and story you hope to hear, that's kind of what was coming to mind for me.
Yeah, although we may not all have used the same language, and I know that we use this language because we've worked together and we've poured into young leaders. But I hope that, like I said, it's the new best way to do business, and people realize that having a social responsibility and answering the needs of the people and empathy and grace and all of these things, I just hope it becomes a part of a new norm. Even if they don't know the right words for it, they know how to engage and they know how to show up in the world better than before.
Totally. So we've got a little bit of time here before we bring Jarren on here. but I want to give you an opportunity. What is something that we as the Sullivan Foundation Network can do to support you right now, with folks that are listening now and later at the recorded version? What's
Yeah.
something that they can do to jump on and support the efforts that you've got going on? Give us a little teaser.
Well, sure. Well, like I said, I'm actually about to get into teaching people about Zoom because we were able to do some amazing things with our conference and also help other people put on, events in general, because it doesn't matter if it's global, local, national, statewide, we're not able to convene. We're not able to get together. And so I just want to teach people how to properly engage with people online. I've been doing events for a long time, and I think that I easily attach tech with experience. And I just want to show up and support anyone who's doing that right now. And then also, Business Rules for Women is a platform, and business is so many things, right? And so if there's a way that our platform can support you, if there's a special topic that we should be talking about or sharing, we want to do that. So just let me know how we can show up. You will be able to see more information about my Zoom classes coming up soon. And additionally, the conference is on demand, right? So we have 17 hours of content that's available right now on demand through Vimeo. You can tap the link in our bio and watch it. We are raising money for our next big event. I want it to be even bigger, even more people to show up. And so you can make a donation. You can talk to me about investing in our events and what we want to do for our community, or I can simply help you reach your community. So thank you so much, Spud, for doing this. And I miss you, and I miss all our people, and I hope Kate is doing great.
Totally. She is on the other side over here working away. So.
Hey, girl.
Totally. But yeah, I was checking out though your Vimeo with Business Rules for Women. Quite on point. So well done. Just in the mark. I mean, you always crush things. I'm always very impressed.
Thank you, Spud.
Yeah, where can folks go to follow? Are there relevant websites, social media stuff?
Of course, businessrulesforwomen.com, and also at Business Rules for Women on social media. And then info@businessrulesforwomen.com is how you can best reach me. Or, my name is Gabby Deculus. You can connect with me through my personal page as well if you want to reach me there.
Cool. You would be, folks would be in good hands if they were trying to figure out how to use Zoom and do virtual gatherings to direct them towards you. So I will do my fair part to share people your way. So
thank you, Spud.
Be prepared for an influx of emails coming your way.
Yes. Exactly what I want. Something I can do at home and help.
Right, exactly. I was talking to a friend because there is thinking about, we're moving events now into the virtual space, right? There are things that you can do in a virtual gathering that you could never do in person. And one of the things that I thought was so helpful was there's a space behind a face. So when we're meeting in person, you wouldn't see where I'm at, I wouldn't see where you're at. And so it gives a glimpse into people's lives. And so how do you actually elevate that in a meaningful way, in a way that is recognizing the differences that people are coming to the table with. So anyway, just thinking about ways that virtual gatherings can be adding something that an in-person gathering might not be able to.
Yeah, I want to share one more thing. All of the feedback, this is crazy, right? So most of the feedback that I received was saying that they felt more connected. People feel more connected this way. Even meeting rooms with Zoom. I did the breakout rooms. We did, of course, utilize the webinar function. People feel more connected this way, Spud. It's crazy. Think about it. You walk into a space for a conference. There's 100 people in there for you to network with. How many people are you really going to talk to? Whenever you are connected to people digitally online, and in these small groups, like we had groups of maybe 10 to 7 people in a breakout room, everyone had an opportunity to introduce themselves. Everyone had an opportunity to answer a question, listen to other people, feel good about being present, feel appreciated, feel seen. So many amazing perks and blessings that we can find in these moments. So anyway, thank you for that.
Oh,
And thank you for having me.
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. So it's good to catch up. I'm glad we were able to do it on here. So
Yeah.
go follow Gabby if you haven't,
Whoop,
and all
whoop.
the stuff that she's up to. She's been, hopefully you get a chance to actually get some rest now that things have passed a little bit. So
Kinda, but yeah, I'm
yeah,
resting. I'm
go
taking care of
sleep.
myself. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Awesome. See you, Gabby.
See ya.
All right. So that was Gabby calling in from New Orleans. Again, Business Rules for Women. Go check her out if you haven't already. Next, I want to bring onto the call a friend of both of ours, Gabby and I's, Jarren. Jarren is with Reading with a Rapper and is just one of the programs that Gabby kind of touched on that she wants to see elevated more, right? How do we spread initiatives like what Jarren's got going on across the country? So let me go and add Jarren to the call here and we'll have a bit of a chat.
Yo,
Hi, what's up, man? How are you?
what's up, man?
Yo, I haven't seen you, so we were supposed to see each other like what, a week or two ago, and
Like literally
sadly that.
the week after my 30th, I was supposed to come out there.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I was so mad because I was just like, man, this is about to be a nice little vacation for me. I can relax. Because, it's very relaxing coming to North Carolina, so I love it.
Totally. Well, thanks for calling. Hopefully, this is a mini substitute of our North Carolina experience. So,
Right,
20-minute teaser of it. But
right.
anyway, well, thanks for joining. For those who don't know who you are and what you're up to, was wondering if you could give us a little taste of what has life in Jarren's world looked like this last month or so.
Yeah, so I'm Jarren Small. I am the co-founder of Legends Do Live, which is a Houston-based nonprofit with the mission to fund and equip disadvantaged youth and communities through workshop programs and events. And then one of our biggest programs that we've had over the last year and some changes, Reading with a Rapper. So we teach students 4th through 12th grade how to read and write through content, tech, and lyrics. And so we've been doing it literally for a year, and we've done over maybe about 20,000 kids between Houston, Atlanta, and New Orleans. The last couple months have been pretty interesting. So, but it really wasn't a hard of a pivot for us because we were dealing with Microsoft already with Reading with a Rapper. So
Right.
we were kind of already in that tech space a little bit. And so us pivoting to use like Microsoft Teams or Zoom or things of that nature wasn't really hard for us. But I would say like this last month's kind of been a little bit crazy because majority of the people on our team are teachers,
Hmm.
so they're real life teachers. So the program that we actually give to these schools are written by actual real life ELA specialists and teachers. So it's been more so like Douglas and I, which Doug is the other co-founder, we've been more uh, potent on making sure that they're okay, because they're dealing with the transition of their classrooms with their students and then just being not able to go to that school. And then, of course, like, again, my 30th got canceled because it was coronavirus. We were getting ready to do like a big fundraiser event with the Rockets.
Huh.
And so you can imagine the NBA was like, hey, no more basketball. This is like maybe 5 days before the event. And I was just like, oh my God. So
Wow.
yeah, man, it's been crazy. It's been really crazy. And then of course you kind of hit us with, hey, yeah, we're not doing it. I'm just like, it was like a trickle effect. As soon as like one person says something, everything just start coming down.
Right. I was thinking about you a lot because as I was hearing about like NBA stuff shutting down, just
Yeah,
any type of like concert gathering, music venue type of thing, schools then get shut down for, I don't know how it is down in Texas right now, but for a majority at least probably of this year. So
yeah.
yeah, how are you balancing that? I mean, Gabby and I were talking about this of like, what was the personal experience like for you when you started getting that influx of news? How are you balancing what to do as a leader of the organization? Did you give yourself a day to pause? Did you just dive right in?
Yeah, I think so for my birthday, my girlfriend, she literally just like got me a hotel room, was like, hey, we're gonna act like we're on vacation. But we were So we had like a staycation in Houston for like a couple of days, and it gave me a chance to kind of like get away from everything and kind of
Yeah.
cut my phone off because like when the NBA had made the announcement, a lot of people were just texting me like the next day and they, hey, what's going on? And I'm just like, I don't want to respond to anybody right now
Right.
because I'm upset. It's just that. And personally, like, I would say 2 days before my birthday was on Thursday. That Tuesday, my dad was, going through prostate cancer. So,
Oh,
like, but he's good. Everything's good now. But to have that in the mix of coronavirus, and then they hear the symptoms of all those older people if they've been infected. It's just like, so my mind is like
right.
everywhere. It's like I got business, but I got personal stuff, and once he was cleared, then I kind of felt good, and then everything else we kind of start moving forward with everything else. So we just been transitioning now to where we're reading Rapper Digital now. So
Right. Yeah. So I was reading some of the big pivots that you had to make. How long did it take you to pivot? And what were the criteria in your mind of like what we get rid of, what we add new to the table? I mean, how are you making those decisions, and what does reading with the rapper now look like a month later?
So of course we were on the brink of finishing the physical programs that we had here in Houston. We were in 9 middle schools, so luckily we were just finishing with them, and then we had just got done doing a pop-up at a middle school in March, right before they really start putting the news out heavy about coronavirus, and we kind of wanted to just wait because the biggest thing that we saw and that we knew that we were always petitioning for was 21st century education. And a lot of school districts, not only just in Houston, but in the country, some of them were not equipped to pivot to where, oh, we're going to do all online classes, because certain schools are not one-to-one schools. Every kid doesn't have a computer. Every kid doesn't have internet. So there's these variation factors now that come into play that you can't hide from an educational system. I think in a weird sadistic way, the coronavirus has helped show some weak points in the education system that people were like not going to fix, because it was like, oh, everything's fine. We can just keep doing what we're doing and it's going to be what it needs to be. Now everyone's like, wait a minute, we got to really figure something out. And just, we wanted to personally like go around, talk to some teachers, talk to some superintendents and see how they were feeling, what the temperature was, and then kind of adjust from what they were giving us versus just trying to make a strong transition. So we took about a good 2-3 weeks to do that. And then we tried some stuff, and then we were looking at doing Reading Rapid Digital, where we're converting kind of like what we do our pop-ups to like virtual pop-ups, essentially, to where we have a thing called Feature Fridays now, where we're actually doing the first one this Friday, where we kind of do the simulation of a pop-up, but we're doing online with the artists, similar to what we're doing, but we'll have the music intact, and we'll do some other stuff and some cool stuff with the teachers and do some little legated devices. And then Cypher Mondays is where we have a specific topic that people can write about via their story, and then we could share. And then on Feature Fridays, we would share some of those and give some giveaways, and hopefully increase that Monday and Friday every day throughout the week.
Awesome. For those who are just joining, Jarren's talking about his program, Reading with a Rapper. Go check it out if you want to follow the Feature Fridays. What were you calling it on Mondays?
Cypher Monday and Feature
Monday.
Friday.
Yeah. So so that's just kicking off. I'm curious because I've been hearing a couple of different people talking about this, of like they feel like their system or company has evolved 5-10 years in the last 2 weeks, right? Because they've been forced to make these big pivots. And so I'm curious, since you've got your head in the education system, on your website, right? You talk about like the future of education. So how has this helped accelerate that for you? Are you seeing, are you seeing it in a way to be able to prepare students to have access to technology in a way that they didn't before? I mean, how is it? I guess how is it subtly like impacting the mission that you were trying to bring about, and you didn't actually have to do it, right? The coronavirus did it.
You're right.
You can kind of like jump a year or two ahead. I mean, is that part of the thought process at all?
Definitely it's a part of the process. We were definitely not expecting, because we were still the impact of what we were doing, because we were doing still gatherings of people. We were going directly to the schools where the kids are. And so it's still a case by case with us. It hasn't like propelled us to where like, oh man, we're in this super crazy space now, and now everybody has to look at us for all the answers.
Yeah.
It's now trying to figure out, again, because the dynamics of schools and kids is so much texture within that, because certain kids come to school because that's their only chance to getting out to do something educational wise. So like them being at home is like, some kids don't have the motivation to do school. Some kids' parents are not there to watch over them to make sure they're actually doing the schoolwork. So there's so many different variations now and variables that come into this that we're trying to adjust to. But I think what we're getting ready to really roll out, because this is the first week that we're doing everything, this is going to be super special after it really just catches on and people see it. So we're going to start contacting back teachers and getting more teachers involved. But the good thing about it is, because of technology, we'll be able to reach more students and people at a quicker rate because of how we can do things and what our base was model wise anyways from the beginning. So it really, it's still kind of tough, but it hasn't been like a hard concrete of like, we have the answers, you should come talk to us. But the thing that I saw, that 21st century education, like we shouldn't be using that word as a good talking point when we're in front of people, or we're in front of mass people, or we're doing interviews or whatever. Like it should really actually be a thing. And I think now this is going to be the start of where, okay, do you have to come to school every day? You know, like, I mean, just to be, not even with people at work, do you have to, people are like, there's been more efficiency going up because people don't have to go to work every day. People are working from home. You get stuff done a little more quicker and faster. So it's just like, is this the change in people that we were looking for anyways in the education space? You know, so, and then what does it look like from a hierarchy down of the people that pretty much control or create the flow, the money, the process, and stuff like that? So we're trying to be a part of that conversation now, to where just locally here in Houston, but in our respective markets that we're already at, in Atlanta, in New Orleans.
Right. How is this impacting fundraising conversations? I mean, and this is a two-part question. One, how is it impacting just money, right? Because you're trying to run this nonprofit and help people buy into this vision. And so the second part then is, are you the one putting forth a vision now for how this could change the dynamic of the system? Or are you hearing the schools and the teachers that you work with coming to you and saying, crap, we're out of our league, right? We are
Right.
not doing this. And you're the tech guy, you've got the Microsoft partnership thing. Like, can you make this vision happen? So are people putting a vision on your plate, or are you the one walking forward and saying, hey, here's what I actually think this could look like? And then how does that impact kind of the fundraising finance dynamic?
So the fundraising finance dynamic, it slowed down for us because we kind of want to be very respectful of people's situations and times, instead of just like, hey, give me some money now, like, you know, because we don't know what people are going through individually. But luckily, how we set everything up, funding wise and structure wise, we were already being, you know, paid from the programs that we were already doing here in Houston. So the biggest thing is having your business set up correctly. Even when you do your contracts beforehand, right? So like, in an act of God, you know, hey, you still got like gotta, you know, so those are small things, like, you know, you put those changes in those contracts when people see or something, so it kind of protects us. So luckily for us, we're in a space where we don't have to spend money. So the money that we've retained, we can kind of keep and plan to see what we can evolve with. The second part of the question is, I think we're doing both. So I think we're talking to the teachers and to admin in space, but also letting them know like, hey, we have answers and we have innovative answers to your questions, so we can kind of plug those in. But it's also that medium of, I don't want to say, we're going to call them seasoned people that don't understand how to pivot that curve, that are in the positions of making the final yes or no. Right? So
right.
that's the thing where it gets very good. Before even coronavirus, that's the thing that we were fighting, that most people didn't even see and understand, is that when they hear, oh, you a rapper, I'm like, no. It's not what you think it is. It's something completely different. But they're so used to the way that they have been taught and how they teach their students that that's like foreign territory to them. I don't even want to look at that. You know, so it was just fighting that curve in a sense. So like now it's going to be a little more, it should be a little more easier because we're not there, but it's still like 50-50.
Interesting. I was working with a school district a couple of years ago, and we had a conversation with a couple of their principals and just framed the question of like, how do you want to be seen by your district, by your students, by the families that are in this network, versus how are you currently seen? And that was a really eye-opening difference to start
Right.
looking at, like, who are those like structural blockades, the people that are just like they seem to be against almost everything. Any type of like new
Yeah.
innovation coming out into the table, they resist. So
I mean, when you don't know something, it's scary.
right.
It's scary. When you don't know something, it's scary. And the biggest thing is like bringing culture to the classroom. That's like our tagline. And when we say that, it's not just reading with a rapid. Anything like what we're doing right now, and people are here, is a classroom, right?
Mhm.
So the fact that I feel like pop culture is in everything but education. It's everything. It's definitely in politics at this point. It's in
Right.
business. It's in fashion. It's in tech. But education was that one space that it just was not living in. I feel like the Generation Z and the kids that come after that, they're literally just on a different frequency. And so the reason why stuff is not connected to them, because we're not talking to them on their frequency channel.
Mm.
And once you change that, stuff will start rolling in very quick, because they just don't understand 1990 rhetoric, and they're born in like 2010 or
Right.
2000. Like it just doesn't connect with them.
Yeah.
So
we've been talking a lot about the education side of things, but you're talking about the culture side. Since you've got sort of a foot in both camps here, education and culture, what are the conversations that are happening in those cultural circles? And that's a really loose, and I don't even know what that means.
I
You
mean,
define it for me. What is a cultural circle that you're in? But what are those conversations looking like right now?
It's sitting down with a lot of these corporations and partners to get them to understand that them impacting the education and community space will ultimately impact their bottom line space, right? Because ultimately, I look at it like this: at the end of the day, without schools, you won't have anything else. So schools attract families, families attract businesses, and it's just a revolving circle. So even when it comes to, like, for instance, gentrification, they start with schools first, because if they drain the resources and take the things out of school, as a parent, your only initiative is going to be to take care of your kids, right? So as a parent, now if you see a school and the school that your kid's going to is not moving at the speed it needs to, you're going to do two things. You're either going to move the kid, or you're just going to move completely, right? So enough of you guys move completely, the property value goes down now. And now they're like, oh, let me come help and just, fix some stuff up. And so, but when they get done helping and fixing some stuff up, it's prepared. The school's ready for their kids once they move in, because now certain people can't afford that price tag of what they've done to come pretty much build the place. So I'm trying to get companies to understand, like a HEB or Microsoft, to say, hey, when you impact 10,000 kids, you impact 20,000 parents. You impact 30,000 people without doing anything, right? And that's big, because at the end of the day, there's the powers in the number of people. And I feel like the youth is never going to go away. It's the gift that really keeps on giving, and we have to find a way to impact them, because ultimately they're going to be the ones that will take care of us when we get older. And I want them to know what they're doing. So when I'm old and gray, I need them to know exactly what they're doing and be very what's the word? Let's see, be very just diligent and just keeping what we're doing with it, because I think it's important. It's having those conversations with the music reps. It's having conversations with unconventional people that you think probably wouldn't come into a school space, but they're going to understand, like, why do we have to start recruiting kids in college? Why can't we start talking to them in middle school? But if they're prepared the right way, then we can start having that conversation.
Do you feel like that's a conversation you can have right now at this given moment, or are people's priorities elsewhere? I mean, how are you navigating when to have that conversation?
To be honest with you, Spud, I think I'm ready to have a conversation, but I think priorities are elsewhere, because ultimately, if it's not directly impacting them at their front door, they really don't see it as an issue.
Right.
And I think that's, for most people, it's just a human trait. If it's not really impacting you, you don't think it's a problem, when really it is a problem, and it does impact you, because ultimately, if one kid or a couple kids in your neighborhood or your community don't do right, the community doesn't look right. Before, a lot of bad will get spread before a lot of good gets spread, which is sad. But I think it's something that we all need to take heed to and understand, like, how all these things work together in a joint system.
Right. Yeah, I feel like people are going to start seeing and understand the implications of system dynamics way
Hmm.
more after all of
Hmm.
this coronavirus.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
and hiring people that understand what's going on that might be younger. And we're not trying to say, and I think that there's that feud of like the generation of us and then the baby boomers and the millennials, like, hey, we're fighting to where like the baby boomers are like, yo, we don't want to give up our seats yet. But the millennials are like, yo, it's time for y'all to give up our seats. But it's about having their relationship to where saying like the millennials should be like, hey, we know you guys have the keys to everything. We're not trying to say move out the way. We're trying to say let us help you and add on to it to evolve it and get them to understand that yes, millennials, some of us are a little bit crazy and we kind of do stuff unconventionally, but don't write us off as a whole because of maybe one or two people as a
right.
collective. So there's that continuing fight now. I think they're where they have to have a conversation with it because they know that we understand this space because millennials are like the happy medium of life. Like we were still going outside, but we were just getting like Facebook and Instagram. So like we know both sides of duality of everything.
Totally. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, folks, if folks are just joining in, feel free to post questions down in the comments or question section. And as folks are doing that, I'm curious, how are you choosing to spend your time now? So 24 hours in a day or over the course of a week, right? 7 days in a week. Where are you allocating your actual hours? Both personally, professionally, business wise. Yeah. How are you spending your time?
So I can tell you it's not 8 hours. It's definitely more than eight. So I do work with Prairie View University. So I do pretty much like where we create programs and things of that nature for schools here in Harris County. But because of how we're set up through the extension and the USDA, the programs are for free. So it's just about creating those and getting it. So we've transitioned to like going over to where we're doing a lot more digital things. Where like now, like we had a conversation with so athletes for computer science. So these are guys that retire NFL professional athletes that do coding classes
Huh.
for students, right? And it's free. So I'm just like, okay, so then in the school that we're targeting here in Houston is called Legacy Sports Science. From 6th to 12th grade, all of them are athletes. It's a charter school and it's designed for them to all learn about the things that are revolving around sports other than just playing in it. So I think it's evolving in this very creative way, but I take the first like 5 to 6 hours of doing it and keep my routine. So I still go to the gym, whether it's at home in the backyard, I play with my dog. I try to do things that keep me away from thinking I'm just at home all day. Uh, I call my friends, I talk to them, and I think I'm in the midst of building another company right now that's getting ready to probably come out in probably late May, early June, which I'm really, really, really excited about. But it's just for me, for somebody like me to have time now is like very dangerous because like I was doing so much stuff with limited time, so now I have so much time that I can actually calm down and pay stuff out and really do a lot more stuff like that. It's a lot more easier. So it's that. But when we get done from 8 to 5, I kick off going to like reading the rapper, Legends Do Live from 6 to when I get sleepy. So it's kind of like a revolving door for me. Nothing's really changed. Only thing is I'm just at home more and I'm saving a lot more gas and a lot more on groceries and fast food. I'm not eating fast food anymore. So I've literally saved a ton of money on that route. But
Right.
other than that, that's it. And I've been going crazy through Netflix. I've watched probably every thriller on Netflix at this point.
I was say I've been making it through. I just got a notice that some of my shows that I'm watching are being expired, and so now my wife and I are going
Wow.
competition. We're like, we've got 3 days to like binge watch 3 seasons. Let's go for it.
Man, listen, if you and your wife need a funny movie to watch, it's on Amazon. Go watch Superstar. It's like it's Will Ferrell's first movie he directed. It's so funny. It's so
right.
funny. Please
I've got
write
it
that
stuck.
down. Superstar.
Sweet. Well, we've got a few minutes left, so I just want to ask one final question here. What is something that we as the Sullivan Network and Foundation can do to support you and the efforts that you've got going on? If people want to like take your model and scale it to other cities, I mean, what are opportunities out there? How can we support the things you got going on?
I think it's what you guys are doing now. Just giving access to people to talk about what they're doing in the creative space and bringing people in y'all world. Because I mean, we're in two different dynamics, but we share the same passion. And then, you know, the more and more we can have these conversations like this is to get everybody to understand that collectively we're all here for a reason, and it's to impact each other, and not to have this individualistic type of mind frame, which is very easy to slip in, especially when there's a part of the unknown or you kind of don't know what's going on. So it's like a survival tactic. You just want to like, how do I fend for myself?
Yeah.
When really there's power in numbers, and if people can just take time to calm down for a second to understand that we've been through things like this numerous of times. And what was the things that we can take away from that to how they got through that? I think that's the thing we should hold on to. But I think as a foundation, you guys just creating these platforms to keep giving people like me and other people around the country outlets to talk about what we're doing at the end of the day. And that's the biggest thing, because none of this has to do with us. It's all bigger than us anyway. You know, so the more that we can keep sharing these stories where people see me and you and we're having the conversations, I think that's the end result and goal.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day. For folks who haven't checked it out, go follow Reading with a Rapper and Legends Do Live. Do you guys have accounts for both? I mean, where can
yeah, so I'll type it. I'm going to type it in. Do Live and Reading with a Rapper. But other than that, that's where you can find all of us at. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys soon. We'll be dropping some more stuff, some exciting stuff that we kind of came out right before the summer, hopefully. But Feature Friday is going to be this Friday at 12 o'clock noon on our page. So definitely tune in for that. And we're going to have some good fun stuff coming.
Sweet, man. Well, thank you for taking time. Always a pleasure talking. Hopefully we will get that North Carolina reunion at some point in the next 12 months. So.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, stay safe down there, and we'll be in touch.
All right, Spud, man. Bye.
Sweet. See you, Jarren. Cool. So that was a little snippet of Gabby and Jarren. If you haven't already, go follow their efforts. They're both doing some really amazing work in their communities and even around the country. So we do this series every week, twice a week. Wednesday at noon and Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So we will be back at this. And this upcoming Friday, we have an Australian version. So we're going to be inviting two folks from Australia for this call. It'll be in the wee hours of the morning for them, but it'll be 5 o'clock Eastern on our side. So I hope to see you then. Thanks for joining. And until next time, we'll chat later. See you, friends.